Should we play this Cory Booker thing? It really is just. I don't know. And this is on one level, it's just absolutely stupid.
Although Cory Booker really thought he did something here.
Yes. But I'm less interested in like Cory Booker's weird, like grandstanding and like what he like just sort of. I don't know if this is going to have a negative impact on things. I don't know that. I'm
not like zeroing in on Cory Booker's personal desire to think he owns the Republicans here. I think this says something paired with the vote, which was 99-0, about how the Democratic Party views this.
Yes, and I think the idea is that they're operating from a real place of fear, and there's a misunderstanding of like how politics operate and things. And
we're being a bit cryptic, though. Should we just play?
Yes, here's the video. We should just say this is during the vote-a-rama when Republicans are offering all sorts of amendments to the reconciliation bill. Under the rules, you have to allow anybody to offer any amendment. And what it is it's set up in such a way like we're going to try and make the Democrats take, and it works vice versa. We're going to try and make the other party take a vote that they don't want to take, that we can then use presumably in elections in the future.
Right, like Tom Cotton did a anti-critical race theory vote. Joe Manchin, the only Democrat that joined him. So that's very like a little thing Manchin can put on his resume. That's what this whole exercise is.
Or prevent being attacked by it. And this is what Cory Booker, responding to Tommy Tuberville's, is that right? Is it Tuberville? Dumberville. The guy's the dumbest person in the Senate. I mean, that's not.
He doesn't know the three branches of government.
That's not an assessment on my part. That's, I think, a title he has, right? Isn't that an official title, I think?
Well, I mean, I think it was handed down to him from Jeff Sessions.
Do we have Bradley, just after we play will you pull up the actual wording of this? But it is ostensibly like, it is a punishment to localities that who aim to defund the police. But here, play this clip, and then we'll do it.
I call on my colleagues to support our law enforcement by voting yes for this amendment. Opposing my amendment is a vote in support of defunding the police and against the men and women in blue.
The gentleman's time has expired.
Madam President.
Senator from New Jersey.
I am so excited. This is perhaps the highlight of this long and painful and torturous night. This is a gift. If it wasn't complete abdication of Senate procedures and esteem, I would walk over there and hug my colleague from Alabama. And I will tell you right now, thank God, because there's some people who have said that they're members of this deliberative body that want to defund the police, to my horror. And now this senator has given us the gift that finally, once and for all, we can put to bed this scurrilous accusation that somebody in this great esteemed body would want to defund the police. So let all of us, 100 people, not walk, but sashay down there and vote for this amendment and put to rest the lies. And I am sure I will see no political ads attacking anybody here over defund the police. And I would ask unanimous consent to add something else to this obvious bill. Can we add also that every senator here wants to defund the police, believes in God, country, and apple pie? Thank you.
God, that's so crazy.
Bradley, you can give me the wording of that amendment.
He really thought he did something there. And I'm sure everybody in the Democratic Party, for the most part, thinks that he did something.
99-0.
Yeah, but like the point is that you should not be going on record saying that you don't believe in defunding the police when it is the most sorely needed.
Well, I think he's saying, okay, so the amendment is, I mean, first of all, I imagine it was very late at night. I mean, he seems extremely giddy over
but
this.
That's kind of his vibe.
I guess it's weird.
And I really don't think he's there are a lot worse Democratic senators than him. I mean, Americans, it was you, Matt, that said that. Go on.
Well, this is the amendment. Americans want safety and security, but more than 80% of law enforcement is conducted by state and local governments. If local leaders in Minneapolis or Portland are so beholden to the radical left that they feel, my amendment is simple. If a city council believes the woke thing to do is to cancel the police department, then they shouldn't expect. That's the wording of the amendment? That's not the actual wording of the amendment, is it? No, I want the wording of the amendment because I want to know what they actually voted on.
Right. But regardless, my point is just the enthusiasm with which he approaches this as some political boon or get for the Democratic Party. One, I think it's a miscalculation and a misunderstanding of the whole conversation surrounding defund the police. But two, the fact that they really do believe that they should all be going on record saying that we shouldn't cut funding for police. I mean, like that. Okay.
But I don't see. That's the point. It's like I don't know if it's actually like cut funding for the police. Like that's the
okay. Then take my first point. Regardless, they see this as some sort of big political win that they've got the Republicans. And I don't think that's the reality. They'll still run those ads, and Cory Booker's speech on the Senate floor during the Vote-A-Rama will have no effect, and that's why you should be pushing to defund the police, because it doesn't matter what you do.
Well, I guess my point is that obviously the Senate has no impact on is not going to defund or not defund the police. But the problem is that, defund the police as weaponized in the problem is twofold. One is it's a mistake to claim that Democrats were actually hurt by this sloganeering.
Yeah. But
they were helped by electorally. They were helped by the protests last year, even though, as we see, their commitment to these issues is very thin.
Exactly. And the idea that they have some protection, right? They have protection from this critique is it's silly. Now, maybe Booker thinks that it's going to be effective, or maybe he doesn't. But the bottom line is that I don't know how I don't know that it makes a difference one way or another. Frankly, that's the thing I'm not quite sure about.
Right, but I know, but they think it does.
Who's they?
The mainstream Democratic Party thinks that they need to rebut the defund the police funding, and that there's broad consensus among a great amount of a majority of the elected Democratic representatives and senators that defund the police hurt them electorally, and they weren't able to make the gains in the House and the Senate that they wanted to.
Right.
Yeah. So this is something that they think is important. To rebut.
Or they don't think that it's important at all, and they just voted for it because they don't care.
Yeah, I mean, it's really hard to find the wording of this. Tuberville's staff is only put up that press release Bradley found. But like the problem that the larger point is, like Austin, for instance, did defund the police and move those funds elsewhere as everyone wants. Like, does this?
Well, they didn't totally defund the police. They just cut. Like, that's the thing, is that localities have the ability to change their budget, which is we're going to cut 25% of the police force and put it into hotels and, for the homeless. And now they didn't do 25% in Austin. They probably did 2%. But I don't know if it's worth it for them to go like, we're going to vote against this thing that is also not, but given the speech is just sort of silly.
Yeah, I mean, I think I want to hear what it means for a place like Austin, because if it means even that it means you're going to lose federal funding, that's a huge problem. And
I totally agree with that. That's why I want to see the language.
The only reason I'm sure they all voted for it was because it's something silly, like, what the press release indicated. But my point is just that the enthusiasm with which they're approaching trying to rebut the defund the police rhetoric is very frustrating to me, because there's been zero action in terms of legislation when it comes to police violence. And this is the thing that they get excited about?
Right.
I know you're saying I'm painting they with a broad brush, but I'm taking this from news stories from months and months and months of, we had the moderate Democrats going after the squad, and that was what happened, with the postmortem of the 2020 elections, saying defund the police cost us seats and all of this stuff. I mean, the focus on this is really misplaced and out of touch. You should be leaning into, we want police reform by demilitarizing them and cutting some of the budgets. I mean, because that's the right thing to do. And
Right.
I don't think it matters electorally in the way they think it does, because they will still say, no matter what Cory Booker says on the Senate floor, no matter how many Democratic senators vote this way, they're still going to say that they support defunding the police when they're anti-cop. It moves the needle zero.
Right, I guess. I mean, Cory Booker is. I don't know. I mean, I'm not in favor of him doing it. I just think that it's like it's a throwaway. He was animated and excited about. Oh, here it is. Okay, let's see what this actually says.
Is there any text? It says zero, right?
It establishes a what? There's no text?
To establish a deficit-neutral reserve fund relating to decreasing federal funding for local jurisdictions that defund the police.
Yeah, I don't even know what that means. A reserve neutral fund. What?
I mean, honestly, like, I think one of the best reasons to want the Democrats to have all of this power, like the Senate, for instance, is to show that, like, the Kente Claus stuff is just symbolic, and they actually have a long way to push them on this stuff.
I know, but like Democrats would, they'd rather fundraise off of Black Lives Matter than do anything about the filibuster or legislatively on police reform. There's been need I remind people here, despite them being helped electorally by the activism of Black Lives Matter in the wake of George Floyd's death and the deaths of countless black people in this country at the hands of police, they have not made a legislative push.
Nothing.
To do anything at all. And yet the impassioned stuff that we see is we're anti-defund the police. And like that maddens me to no end.
It's a wealthy suburbanite party. Like that's when Biden says we're going to out-organize gerrymandering. That's exactly who they're coveting. And they're leaning into that, and they'll be fine with fundraising off of gun violence and fundraising off of police brutality and then not doing any of the necessary steps to address it. And it's a terrible long-term strategy because people are going to get pissed. I'm pissed.
Yeah, it does. I mean, he could have just been like, this is a silly amendment, and you don't have your talking point. I don't know. Austin, Tim Caucus says Austin removed a third of its police budget a year ago. I didn't realize it was that big. Wow.
And like the state government has been, trying to do this exact same thing, and that's the thing, is like I don't know what this deficit neutral shit is.
I don't understand what it is either. But he made a big deal of it, and I'm not sure what the value of it is. Nobody's listening to Cory Booker on the right anyways who would respond to those things.
But yeah, right. Well, and I don't even think Cory Booker is like, in the grand scheme of things, I think he's one of the better Democrats in the Senate, but it's just, I'm annoyed by the insistence that this is something interesting.
I'm not such a fan of Cory Booker's, but
I didn't say I was.
Folks, there's more of what you've just saw where that came from. That's if you hit the subscribe and like button. Thank you. Really, thank you.